Dragonball Z The Legend is a 3-on-3 fighting game released for the Sega Saturn and the PlayStation in 1996. The PlayStation version was never launched outside Japan, but the Saturn version received a limited release in some European countries, namely France, Spain, and Portugal. This is because Dragonball Z hadn't aired in countries like the US and the UK, but France, Spain, and Portugal were pretty far into the saga by then. As far as I know, none of the European releases are in English. The French and Portuguese versions, which is what I'm playing now, have Japanese voice acting without any subtitles, and the menus are in French. I assume the same goes for the Spanish version, but I can't confirm this. This game is pretty damn important in the Euro market. The Sega Saturn underperformed in the Western markets with the exception of a few countries, namely Spain, France and Portugal. Now, I can't really speak for the French and Spanish markets, but in my country, the Saturn was pretty big, outselling the Nintendo 64 and selling roughly on par with the PlayStation up until 1998, give or take a few months. And this game is the reason for that. The Dragonball Z craze was in full swing by the time this game released here, and seeing a 3D Dragon Ball game that seemed to accurately mimic the scope of the anime was all it took. This was the Saturn's killer app in my country. Everyone who owned the Saturn bought this game. I remember the first time I played this game, the show was in the Android saga in my country, so it was pretty cool seeing all the characters that were to come during the Boo saga. And now, you can find copies of this game on eBay selling upwards of 30 or 40 pounds or $50 to $60. And from what I can tell, most of the copies come from Portugal. Here on the other hand, you can usually buy a complete copy for $10 as this game is a pretty common sight in my country. So, with all of that said, how is this so-called killer app? Well, it's not very good. In fact, it's kinda below average. Okay, as I mentioned, Dragonball Z The Legend is a 3-on-3 fighting game spanning the entirety of the Z saga, starting with the invasion of the Saiyans and going all the way to the Boo saga. As far as I can tell, it had the most complete roster out of every Dragon Ball Z game up to then, including all of the Saiyans in their different transformations, but also lesser characters like all 5 members of the Ginyu Force, Cell Jr., Androids 19 and 20, even Deborah. Of course, the issue here is that the gameplay is exactly the same no matter who you pick. Sure, some characters are faster or cause more damage, but here's the thing. There are no special moves to learn here. Each character has exactly the same controls. You are always locked onto an enemy and you press up on the D-pad to fly closer to them and down to fly away. So even though you're on a 3-dimensional plane, it essentially acts as a 2D fighter, as you can only get closer or away from your enemies. You can punch, defend, and shoot fireballs, which don't cause any damage but can destabilize your enemy. You can also do powerful kicks and punches which shoot your enemy in one of 4 directions, and when you do this, you can quickly follow them and start a chain attack. The main mechanic of this game is to link these power kicks with the chain attacks indefinitely, all while you pay attention to your ki. As you attack, your ki goes down and you'll need to recharge it or you'll be stunned yourself. As you and your teammates attack the opposing team, the power bar at the bottom fills with the color of one of the teams. Once that bar is filled, one of the characters from the winning team will perform a special attack. Do this 3 times for each enemy in the opposing team and you win. And that's it. No, seriously, that's all there is to it. You link and chain attacks, you recharge, you defend or counter when you have to, and then you start the whole thing again. You don't even get to throw a Kamehameha wave, as the game will do that for you. And it doesn't matter which character you play as, they all control the same. And because you have to do this 3 times for every enemy in the opposing team, battles can take a long time. If you want, you can open up a menu and switch out party members. You can only have 3 on the battlefield at any given time, and the rest stay in reserve. And honestly, I'd like to talk more about the gameplay, but there really isn't anything else to say. It's all really basic. What Dragon Ball Z The Legend does well is giving you the same scope as the battles from the anime. The maps are huge, filled with trees, rocks and hills, all of which can be easily destroyed. With that said, the main story mode is pretty short. You can usually finish it in about 4 hours, and by then there isn't much left to do. You can play the versus mode and create some pretty interesting team combinations, but playing this with a friend is almost impossible unless you do a one-on-one duel, mostly because the camera can't handle all the different characters on screen, so you'll often end up hidden away from the camera. Even when everyone is in frame, it's still a huge mess. I should also point out, this version removed some content for whatever reason. In the original Japanese version, the story segments were retold by the narrator from the anime, and characters would also comment on battle during gameplay. But here, both the story segments and the supporting cast are completely silent. So yeah, it's pretty hard to recommend this game. It's just too repetitive for its own good and lacks any depth. Chaining and linking attacks is pretty fun, but this is all you do, and it's not long after that boredom sets in. I fully admit I still have a soft spot for this game. I like how your characters are 2D sprites in a 3D environment, though it often shows the limitations of the Saturn, usually in the form of plenty of dithering and sometimes by mixing 2D and 3D effects that don't look all that good when put together. If you're a huge Dragon Ball fan, you might get a kick out of this game, but at its current price, it's a bit hard to justify a purchase. Personally, I say skip this one. Hey everyone, thank you for watching St1ka's Retro Corner. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment and subscribe for a new video every Thursday. Anyway, I hope you have a great day. Bye!